Welcome to Sports Desk on SYN 90.7 FM, the place for all the sports. I'm Ben.
I'm Dan.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Lucy.
Oh, at least Dan got his name right this week.
This time, yeah.
We're very impressed. Lucy, what do we have coming up today?
Today we have a big preview of another massive weekend of sport, particularly round 2 of the AFLW after a very, very successful round 1 last week. We have some AFL news with lots of captaincy and leadership groups announcements this week. Sam was lucky enough to be at the A-League derby last week, so we're going to revisit a bit of the controversies from that game, and there were quite a few. And also some cricket selection news, because Australia has the upcoming tour of India and their T20 series against Sri Lanka coming up, while also the Southern Stars will be playing New Zealand in a T20 series here in Australia. So another massive show this morning on the Sports Desk. Now let's throw it to a song, Ben.
This is Archie Marry Me by Always, and you're listening to the Sports Desk on SYN 90.7 FM.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk on SYN 90.7 FM. That was Always with Archie Marry Me, or Marry Me Archie.
I think it's Archie Marry Me.
Archie Marry Me, yeah.
Either way, great song.
Great song, exactly. So we are now going to cut to the AFLW. Massive round 1 last week, historic round last week. And some of us were lucky enough to be there on Friday night, weren't we?
I think we were all there.
Yeah.
We all
Oh,
were.
you're there too, Sam?
Yeah,
I
was there as well.
Sam was there, I was there, Ben was there, Dan was there, just the whole gang was
I think
there.
about 24,000 other people
And
were there.
24,000 other people,
And
yeah.
2,000 others locked out of the
Yeah,
stadium. How
locked
about
out
that?
of the stadium. What did you guys think of the game on Friday?
Oh, it was amazing. Like,
Mm.
the crowd was just absolutely up for it. And I really enjoyed it.
I think it really just exceeded all expectations. Obviously, the AFL's expectations with the crowd, but just generally with the standard of play as well. Obviously, the end of the game, it was a little bit like,
It dropped off towards the end
tired
a little bit.
legs and that, but Darcy Vesio was something special, wasn't she?
She played an incredible game, and
Yeah.
she will probably be featuring in our votes for the round, which will be coming up soon.
Yes.
I mean,
I think the exclusive votes.
can't hear them anywhere else. Yeah, I was like, of course it did drop off towards the end, as Dan said, but
Yeah.
I think that's also because the game was pretty much over.
Yeah.
Like, in the first,
Yeah.
probably halfway through, it was a bit over.
Pretty much, you stop Hope, you stop Collingwood. And
Yeah.
Yeah, that has been said. I think it's a bit disappointing to hear people say it, but I think Mo Hope could maybe come back tomorrow. I think if she does it right, then it could be good to see her
the
play
thing
a
is, she
few
hasn't
goals.
kicked a bag in a while, so
Yeah.
she's well due
Yeah.
to kick a
To be fair,
a 3 or 4.
teams have worked out how to play on her, and that's just to double, triple team her.
Mm.
And you really, Collingwood have really relied on her quite a lot. And if you take her out of the game, they seem quite weak up forwards.
Yeah.
They haven't got a lot of
Absolutely.
options going forward.
And the Carlton defence did really, really, really well against her on Friday. I feel like I need to put like a disclosure every single time I talk about Carlton. But no, Friday night, like I said in our little Facebook Sports Desk group that Friday night was the best night of my life. And you're like, oh, don't go too far, but I'm not even kidding. Like, it was a very, very emotional
You are part
night.
of Collingwood, Carlton as well.
Yeah. So the win was even better, but literally being there with 25,000 people for women's football, growing up, I just never, ever thought that I would see something like that. And then when I saw it happening, I was just like, this is the best thing that I've ever seen. Like, I'm not even kidding. And like it's just the wonder that it did for me as like a 23-year-old. I can't imagine what it's doing for like younger girls who are like 12 and 13 who can now sort of realise their dreams of becoming AFL players. But that obviously wasn't the only game that happened on the weekend. We also had Footscray versus Freo
Freo.
at Whitten Oval. I went to that game as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
We
There
went there. How
Everywhere.
was it?
It was pretty good. There was 10,000 people there, all predominantly Footscray supporters,
Mm.
obviously.
I can imagine.
Same as the Carlton Collingwood game, Footscray sort of ran away with it.
Yeah.
But Freo did look like a very, very good team. They just kept making too many mistakes,
Yeah.
which is also something that's been talked about a lot in the media about the AFLW. But, these things take time.
Yeah.
Do you
And
think? Oh, you go.
And I mean, that's to be expected. A lot of these women have like sort of stopped playing from about 14 to 18 years old because they'd play up to 13 with the boys and they'd be told, no, you're not allowed to play anymore, which is pretty disheartening, I think. And one of the reasons why the skill level probably isn't there just yet, but in years to come, like it's just going to get better and better. You can see with the money that the AFL are putting into grassroots footy for women. There's so many teams around now.
Yeah.
It's not just Darebin Falcons anymore. It's teams all around. So
that's very true.
Yeah, the skill quality is obviously going to get better.
Mm.
And there was a couple of games on the weekend as well. Melbourne Brisbane. That was the game on Sunday. It was probably the closest game of the round and.
Played in treacherous conditions.
Yeah, it was. They had to go off at one point because of lightning. It was just, it was a
good.
disaster zone there, and Melbourne only kicked the one goal for the day, and Brisbane got over the line in an upset win for them.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
exciting times for and it just means that it really shows that anyone can win on their day for the AFLW. This new competition. Obviously, you do have your favourites in Fremantle and Bulldogs, and even Carlton now after that. Imposing performance on Friday night, but anyone can win on their day, can't they, Benno?
Yeah.
Well, except GWS.
Yeah.
But,
Well, we'll come into that when we talk about the upcoming round next. But I suppose another sort of talking point is the fact that the Collingwood have lost another home game this week to Icon Park.
Yeah.
So tomorrow there will be a double header, Carlton v GWS with Collingwood v Melbourne afterwards. Do you think Collingwood will play a home game?
It's hard to say because Olympic Park probably holds about 5,000
Yeah, it's not very
standing
big at all.
there's no
capacity.
seating.
Yeah, there's no seating.
It is a tough one because obviously the AFL are going to want to pour as many people as they can into the stadiums, and Collingwood are one of the biggest, probably arguably the biggest side in the AFL and AFLW, so they've got the biggest supporter base. They're going to get over 5,000 most games, especially when the tickets are free. It's
And they're playing other Victorian clubs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's only when they're playing, your Freos, Brisbane's, GWS, Adelaide that they're actually probably going to play at Olympic Park. I'm not sure how many of them they play in Melbourne, but yeah, it's a good problem to have for the AFL, but
true.
not so good for Collingwood.
Do you think Collingwood would care that much about losing a home game versus having an extra 5,000, 10,000 people turn up to watch them?
That's a good point. I think that too, and I think because it is the first year of the AFLW, you haven't had that real establishing your home ground or home base or whatever. But considering they train there and they're based there and whatever, you'd think that you'd want to play at home. But if you don't have the facilities and you just for a crowd, then you just can't really have it there. But then wouldn't Victoria Park in Collingwood be an option?
Yeah, it actually would be. I'm not sure the capacity is there, but it would be a lot more than Olympic
all
Park.
the state it's in.
Yeah.
Icon Park's been pretty well maintained. They use it for pre-season matches. I'm not sure whether Victoria Park's been
well, I mean,
maintained.
they play VFL there, so
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be an option. Maybe that's something that they'll
Probably
have to...
going next
definitely
season.
an option
Yeah,
in the
next
future.
Next season would be something going forward, yeah.
And the exciting thing about it being moved is that there's a double header at Icon Park. So if you're doing a bugger all on your Saturday, head down to Icon Park and get in there pretty quick smart.
Get pretty early.
Yeah,
I think the gates open at 2, is that right?
Yeah, 2.
Yeah, so
with
get
3
down
Victorian teams playing there. If you missed out last week and you're a Collingwood supporter or even a Melbourne supporter
Or
who
a
didn't get to go
GWS
down,
supporter.
or a GWS supporter,
The 5 of you.
get down and just watch some really good football.
And
Yay!
Woohoo! And I mean, last week at Icon Park, it was almost like a finals atmosphere, wasn't it?
It was,
insane.
yeah.
It
Electric.
It was full on. The crowd was and I've spoke to a few of the girls after the game, and
name drop.
yeah, exactly. And
Best yo.
they were all very, very excited. All of them were just they just couldn't believe it. Every single time they did something, they were the crowd. You just could hear the crowd. And I actually broke the news to Lauren Brazal, who had a blunder of a game, that the crowd was locked out. She didn't know that people had been locked out after the game, and I did a post-game interview with her. And I was like, oh, did you know that people got locked out? And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, people couldn't get into the stadium. And she was just completely dumbfounded. So it was very, very exciting.
And I mean, a lot of these women don't expect this sort of thing because they're used to the smaller crowds.
To quote Danielle Hardiman, when I interviewed her post-game, I promise I'll stop with the name drop soon. She was like to me, she was like, when she took a pack mark, and she was like, yeah, the crowd, I could just hear them just going nuts. And she's like, it's a bit different to playing VWFL. There's usually 10 people there, and it's all your parents. But yeah, so to wrap up round 1, who were our votes? Dan, we'll start with you.
One vote I'm going to have to go with Davey. She had 26 touches, was just everywhere on
Yeah.
Friday night. Really set up the play up forward from half back and in the midfield. 2 votes I'm going for Erin Phillips, who she was a former, well, not former, she's still playing in the WNBA, I think.
Yeah, she is
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
And you know, played represented the Opals and all that. She kicked 3 goals on the weekend and was really just the X factor for Adelaide up forward in their big win over GWS. And 3 votes gonna have to go to Darcy Vesio. She was just very, very good on just below her knees as well. Is something really special. How about you, Sammy? What are your thoughts?
I've gone 1 vote for Katie Brennan. She had plenty of touches. I think she was a leading possession getter for the Doggies. She kicked 2 goals. Kind of just did the same thing that you were talking about, Brianna Davies. She kind of just ran the show. Then 2 votes I've gone Darcy Vesio. It was just, well, I don't think any of us could really believe how well she played. Kicked 4 goals. Worked off the ground really well as in the air. And played what I think a lot of Collingwood fans were hoping Mo Hope would have done.
Yeah.
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 So.
Yeah.
Was a real target woman up forward. And 3 votes are gone Brianna Davey. She had 26 touches, but not only that, she just seemed to really control the game. She
A lot of
started
pace as well.
Yeah, started at centre half back, full back, and then just kind of ran the show, kind of like how she keeps. Being a keeper, she probably would be used to that kind of thing. Just having
I think you could see that. Yeah.
yeah, you could see her kind of just standing at the back of the pitch, just sort of running the show, and that really impressed me. So she's got my 3 votes for this week.
Yeah, I've sort of gone the same as Sam, and I've said Brennan 1 vote, Davey 2 votes, but Vesio 3 votes, because I don't think you can really top the performance that Vesio had on the weekend. I've spoken enough about my votes on Monday, so
Yeah.
Ben, cut to you.
I went 1 vote, Brianna Davey. I mean, as the boys have said, just everywhere on Friday night and really set the game up from the back. Yeah, I think 26 touches in what is a much shorter
essentially
game.
An hour
half.
game, yeah.
Yeah, is just phenomenal, I reckon. I mean, I went 2 votes, Daisy Pearce. Melbourne didn't get the win, but she played really well. She was everywhere.
10 tackles there. I
Yeah,
think.
everywhere. And
Machine.
then 3 votes. I mean, we were all there. Darcy Vesio, I just couldn't believe it. Like, 4 goals, a lot of posies. She was everywhere. She could have had a 5th, but was unselfish.
Yeah.
Chipped it over the top.
Yeah, she will be the one to watch, and she
Yeah.
she would be probably my tip at the moment for the best and fairest for the league in AFLW, because if Nolan can lock her down, she will just run amok every week.
Absolutely.
So now we're going to go to a song, Ben. What are we going to play?
We're going to play Since I Left You by the Avalanches, and you're listening to Sports Desk on SYN 90.7 FM.
And welcome back to the Sports Desk on SYN 90.7 FM. I'm Lucy, and you are with...
Ben?
Dan?
Sam?
And right now we are just going to preview the upcoming AFLW games. We spoke a little bit before about round 1 and our votes for Player of the Year. Vesio, obviously, I think was the standout for the 4 of us. But the round 2 kicks off tonight at Whitten Oval with Bulldogs versus Adelaide. What are you guys thinking about that game?
Well, Adelaide did play well last week, but it was against a very, very lacklustre GWS side. It was in... Benno just signalling the thumbs down. Great radio. Adelaide just... Yeah, well, GWS, have a lot of outs, and it was wet conditions, to be fair, but, yeah, the ball was just in Adelaide's hands a lot of the game, and Bulldogs showed last week that they are the favourite for the flag in my eyes after knocking off Freo. What are your thoughts, Samuel?
Yeah, Bulldogs really impressed me last Saturday night. Adelaide did as well, but yeah, you have to remember that they were playing a weaker opposition, shall I say. I'd probably go the Doggies in this one. I'd be favoured to go the Doggies.
Especially at home. They got the home ground advantage, and Lucy will be there.
Yes, I will be there again. I went to Whitten Oval last night, and I think home ground advantage, Katie Brennan probably playing the role of general again on the field. They seem probably a little bit too strong for me, but I think tonight's game will be like a really, really good game just because both teams showed strong performances last week.
Yeah, I agree. I reckon tonight could... I mean, people have been calling out a little bit for a high-scoring game. I think tonight could be it.
Yeah, I think so too.
I reckon tonight will be probably 1 goal either way.
Adelaide's forward line is actually quite good. I got Sarah Tex Perkins, as she's
I have
been
heard that, yeah.
coined in the last week or so. And obviously Aaron Phillips as well, who kicked 3 last week, and I can see the Bulldogs running over them tonight. Not by a huge margin, but Kearney picked up 23 disposals last week, and they tried to negate marquee selection Ellie Blackburn, and just, you know, if they stop Blackburn, then it's Kearney going to get the ball. If they stop Kearney, then it's Blackburn. So I just think that Bulldogs are too strong all round for the Crows.
Yeah, me too. And I think, again, with like the home ground advantage, I think Bulldogs will be a little bit hard to run over. And Bulldogs are also very hard to run over when their number one supporter is sitting in the grandstands, Susan Alberti. Beautiful, beautiful woman. You should, like, last week you should have seen, she came up into the grandstand and got a standing ovation. Like, the game hadn't started or anything, but she came out and I was just like Eva, I was standing up clapping for her because she is like a true pioneer of like women's footy. Also went to my high school and donated a bunch of money to them.
Name dropping.
Yeah, and so that was really fun. That was really cool to see. But then tomorrow we have Carlton v GWS and Collingwood v Melbourne, both at Icon Park, as we mentioned before. Who are we tipping for Carlton v GWS?
Well, I think that's a pretty obvious one. I can see it being a pretty ugly sort of game here. Maybe even within the 40, 50 point sort of range, especially with their 3 main players out. And I just can't see them stopping Vesio. Can you, Benno?
No, I think a fairer matchup would be Vesio versus the GWS Giants, and I'm gonna have to give it to Vesio by about 20 points. GWS, in contrast to like the AFL, their women's team just doesn't look like strong enough when you compare it to. I mean, across the board, their list doesn't look as strong when you compare it to other teams, like especially Carlton, who showed how like not only their talent but how well polished their tactics are last week against Collingwood. And I think, as we were mentioning before, it's easy to say, oh, just triple team Mo Hope, but to actually do that, it requires not only like the tactics but like the defensive structures and the defense.
And then to also have a strong midfield to fill in the gaps that the defence is leaving.
Well, exactly.
And to also then to string it together to get it into the forward line. So, yeah, but Carlton have made a few changes to, like, their lineup in terms of that. Vesio's been put on the ball and the forward line has been changed up a little bit. And Carlton, unfortunately, I think in one of the saddest stories of the week, have lost Natalie Plain for the rest of the season. She went down, I think, in the early in the third quarter with a sprained ankle, which I didn't think was going to be too bad, but afterwards scans showed she's going to be out for 12 weeks, so obviously the remainder of the season, which is disappointing. But it's also interesting to note and to sort of keep in mind that GWS will get back their marquee player, Emma Swanson.
I think she's actually, it says here on the team lineup that she's out still.
Oh, really?
So they have Swanson 4th and Stevenson still out of their side. So again,
I was under the impression she was
just
in.
looking not good for the Giants. We're all pretty much tipping a whitewash here.
More of a how much as opposed to...
I'd put it 40, 50.
Yeah.
Depending on conditions, though. I mean, if it's raining, I'd only be 20 points.
Yeah,
and then the following game after that, as it is a doubleheader, will be Collingwood v Melbourne. Both teams probably hungry for a win, considering disappointing losses last week. So that could be another... I would tip that as the match of the round after Western Bulldogs and
Lucy's
Adelaide.
game of the round here.
Yes, exactly.
The game of the round.
Game of the round. Collingwood v Melbourne. But I think that actually will be really good. I think two big stars going up against each other with Mo Hope and Daisy Pearce lining up. But Melbourne had a few, like Paxman and I think it was O'Day. O'Day. Both had, I think, over 20 disposals for Melbourne.
And Pearce had 19. So, I mean, they got their hands on the footy last week. They just couldn't capitalise. I think they had something like 25 inside 50s for one goal.
They had the same amount of scoring shots as Brisbane. They weren't as effective in their efficiency.
Oh, of course. And, I mean, they're going to get their hands on the footy again, you would think. But I can see Collingwood being just too strong. Like, I mean, they were a bit overawed on Friday night, last Friday night, I think. So I can see them just coming out and, putting on a bit of a show. Maybe not a big win, but because it will probably be one of the closest games of the round. But I can see Collingwood getting over the line here.
Yeah, I think Steph Chiocci is going to pump up her troops and sort of want to get the win back. I think think that's what Collingwood will show tomorrow. Another thing, Steph Chiocci. She was the AFL trainee at my high school when I was in year 8.
Oh,
There we go.
I think we're up
I'm
to about
just
5 or
like-
6 name drops
Yeah,
now.
exactly. Full of
Welcome to the name
connections.
drop desk.
And then the first sort of away game for Fremantle is on Sunday. They'll be playing Brisbane Lions. And I think if Fremantle can stop with that, but like if they can overcome the sort of errors that they were making on Saturday night against the Bulldogs, I reckon they could get up because they were moving the ball really well. It was just too many drop marks. Like if they held onto the ball at least another 7 times or whatever, they would have strung together some really nice play, and they did have quite a few shots on goal. So it'll be interesting to see that game against Brisbane as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've included former Olympian Kim Mickle for this match. I think that's on an extended, javelin thrower.
Javelin.
Again, great radio, Ben, just illustrating the javelin
I
throw.
was reminding you what sport it was.
And well, who are we tipping in this one, fellas?
I think Freo will get over the top. I mean, I think last week, I reckon most of the skill errors would just come down to nerves in playing in front of such big crowds. Like I would
That's what I
doubt.
think too. Yeah.
I mean, and I think we noticed a bit of the players that had played in the exhibition matches for Bulldogs and Melbourne. They were more used to the crowds. But if you're an 18-year-old playing your first game in front of like 5, 10, even 24,000, like you're not going to be able to. You're not going to be used to it. You'd be very nervous, not wanting to make a mistake, which in turn would lead to more mistakes. I think Freo not having to travel, having had the first game, got that under their belt, some skill errors. I think they'll come out in front of a hometown crowd, and I think we'll see that Lions last week was an aberration with just against a Melbourne team that arguably played better, but just didn't get the scores on the board. Yeah, I can see Freo winning this by 3 or 4 goals.
Yeah, I have to agree, Benno. I mean, Brisbane, they were lucky to get over the line last week, I'd say.
Exactly.
I mean, they shut Melbourne down with the wind in the first quarter, and then were able to run slightly over the top of them. But yeah, I just think Donnellan will probably be too much of a factor for the Lions, and yeah, I think I can see them getting up by about 2 or 3 goals.
Yeah, so it's a very exciting round 2 of AFLW coming up. Sorry, Sam, I cut you off.
Nah, it's all right.
But we will cut to a song now. What are we playing, Ben?
This is Matilda this is Old J with Matilda, and you're listening to Sports Desk on SYN 90.
You are listening to 90.7. This is the Sports Desk, the desk for all the sports. And we just listened to Alt J with Matilda. And you are on the air with Lucy,
Ben,
Dan,
and Sam.
And upcoming now, we are going to recap on a very controversial Melbourne derby on the weekend and what this means for City going into the weekend.
I mean, one of our men was there.
Yeah.
I was there, lads. Watched the match from victory end. It was pretty tense match. We were right next to the City fans, so that led to a bit of
the south end,
bit of discussion. Yeah, bit of discussion.
Discussion.
Friendly
discussion.
discussion.
But yeah, victory won 2-1. They didn't play well, I'll be honest with you. Victory played pretty poorly for most of the match. City were really, we're much more in control of the game. City's goal came from an own goal, despite that. And then Victory scored in the 84th. Brisha scored after missing a penalty earlier in the match. I think that's his 4th miss for the season as well. So he's not quite the same player he was. And then Manny Muscat with a very controversial.
Yeah, it was a
own goal.
And it did lead to something else occurring, didn't it?
Yeah, Tim Cahill, City's marquee signing, was red carded after that for dissent to the ref.
Ooh, and does anyone actually know what he said?
Yeah, it's been released.
Yeah.
He called him a bad word disgrace.
Yeah, don't use that word.
Yeah,
a naughty word and a disgrace.
Yeah.
Not a radio word.
But
that's for sure.
he was
Fill in
red
the
carded
blank.
before entering the field of play, which
It's pretty rare.
that's pretty rare that happens.
Yeah, I don't even know if that would have happened before.
I've never
I
seen it
assume
happen.
it would have
Yeah.
happened.
Probably happened before, but
Yeah.
I've never seen that happen before.
And it's interesting because they lose a sub, but it doesn't mean they have to take off.
Yeah,
a
so they've just
player.
got 2 blokes on
Yeah.
them, so they
And,
can only use 2
I
blokes.
mean, Victory, like, fans absolutely love Cahill as well, don't they, Sam?
Oh,
yeah, I'm a big
massive fan.
I'm a big fan of
Can't
him
get
when
enough
he's in
of
a
him.
City shirt. But he wasn't the only one to sort of get himself in trouble with what he said. Dean Bazanis, the City keeper,
You
he
did hear
called
that over the
Barisha
FX
AR,
wall.
a naughty word, gypsy,
Mm.
which
Oh.
is
Slur.
which went down as a pretty poor racial slur.
Oh, absolutely. And is it it's a 5-week?
Yeah.
he's ended up
Yeah,
with 5
so
weeks.
he went to the tribunal and tried to argue.
They
Tried to
no-
argue ignorance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he had
which
no
is the
idea what it
worst
meant.
argument that you could
Yeah, he
possibly
tried
use
to-
for
Is that
any
ever
Not
going to
good
work?
enough.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not good enough. It's like,
makes you look worse.
yeah,
it honestly makes
exactly.
you look
Yeah.
worse.
And he said that he made out the. Did he apologise to.
Yeah, he personally found out Barisha, which is pretty good on his behalf, and the club released a statement pretty much straight after the match, which I read,
Yeah.
which was pretty good. But he was trying to like say that it was something akin to bogan,
Yeah,
which
I don't
Probably
agree.
not,
Which-
is it?
which
No.
really isn't.
Unless Bogans have been persecuted for hundreds of years,
Yeah,
then
exactly.
yeah,
I think that's pretty much it. I
So-
mean, fair play to the club though. I mean, it does seem like they've really come down on it, and
yeah,
Mm.
definitely, yeah.
They're-
And it has been handled well
Yeah.
by the A League.
Yeah,
in
and
terms
the
of
league,
5
the
weeks.
league in general, yeah, they really so they slapped a pretty hefty ban on him. He's not back until round 24 when City face Western Sydney Wanderers.
Yeah, and so it's 8 players not available to play.
Yeah, well,
in
it's
their
just
game against the Raw.
well, there was a heap of yellow cards in the match.
I think it
A
was
lot
like
of yellow
5 or
cards.
6. and-
Yeah, and so most of them got towards their 5 yellow card ban. So they're City this week, apart from missing Cahill and Bazanis, are also missing. I believe it's so it's Fauna Rowley, Fernando Brandan, Luke Bratton, Manny Muscat, and Malik will all miss this match. So
wow.
there's going to be a lot of youth.
Who are you tipping for this one?
So City play Brisbane.
which is a must-win game because if they lose, they're out of the 4.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
drop out of the 4. Brisbane actually were pretty good last week against Sydney. They drew 0-0 with who last night went when it made 19 matches straight undefeated with a 3-1 win over
Dominant. The
over-
Cove.
Yeah, 3-1 win over Wellington, which included a beautiful team second goal. I'd probably say I'll probably go the draw in this one. To be honest with you, Brisbane have impressed me,
Tipping
and
the
City struggling. City really going to struggle. They're going to have 8 youth players, which is a lot to bring in.
Yep.
I can't really see. I can't really see them getting over. That's a whole team.
whole
Yeah,
team.
that's a whole starting lineup.
Bit
yeah.
of park the bus in order.
Yeah, I reckon they'll
My
just park
favourite
the bus.
tactics.
Even then, it doesn't work for you sometimes.
Yeah. And then the other matches this week, there's Adelaide United will play Perth. Adelaide's been struggling. I'll probably expect Perth to get over the line in this one.
Who's Victory got?
Victory been postponed until Monday. So
Oh,
Sydney
that's right. Yeah.
40 degrees.
40 degrees in Newcastle on Saturday. Yeah, a
Yeah,
part
we
of that
saw
heat
that
wave.
for the W League on the weekend with the
Yeah.
semi-final getting pushed later in the day.
Yes, that
It
was
still
after.
really hot.
Yeah, it was like 35 still when
Yeah.
they kicked off. Yeah. So Sydney will stay at least 12 points clear on the top of the table until Monday,
Oh, that's good.
which is pretty big. It's a pretty big gap. I can't really see anyone sort of
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably
cutting them
just
in.
fighting
That's-
it out for second, third, and fourth.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much a point a game they have to Victory have to haul in from
Yeah.
now until actually more than a point a game for the rest of the season. And then the other match is Central Coast play Western Sydney in Western Sydney.
And Central Coast could actually get over the line this one.
Yeah, Western Sydney have been really struggling. Their player rotation's been incredibly high, by far the highest in the league. They haven't really had a settled starting lineup. I think Mitch Nichols comes back, which is a real positive for them because they missed him. Even though they got over the line last week, they missed him quite a lot. They're about even. Central Coast is actually above them on the table, so I wouldn't be surprised seeing Central Coast get over the line here. I think Western Sydney will probably win, but it'll be closer than what we think. And we also have some W League.
Yeah, we have
Action.
massive grand final
Grand
this
final.
weekend.
Grand final in the W League,
Yeah.
which is, and it's kind of been brought a little bit into question, the W League's place, I think, with how well the AFLW's gone.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been asking questions, not of the league, but more of the FFA and the management. that they have and the promotion they're doing really has been quite minimal for the W League.
Well,
And it deserves to get more.
Yeah, Melissa Barbieri, former Matilda's goalkeeper, posed the question, if you support the AFLW, why don't you support the W League?
Yeah, it's a great question to ask.
It's a good question to ask, but in her article she answered her own question in that she said that the A-League, that the AFL had pumped so much publicity into it.
Absolutely.
And it literally came down to the fact that the AFL actually cares about the product that they're putting out with the AFLW, and the FFA just don't seem to want to know about the W League.
I'd just say that AFL is arguably a more popular sport.
Yeah,
not
I would say
played
by far
sport, but
spectator.
followed sport in Melbourne and across Australia compared to soccer. So
But you can see women's soccer being successful. It's the most successful women's sport in the
absolutely.
US.
Yeah.
Like you have the MWSL over there, which I watch, and it's amazing to watch. And there's ways around like TV deals and everything like that. The NWSL doesn't have a TV deal, but they live stream all of the games on YouTube, which is great. So fans can watch it if they want to watch it and things like that.
Well, I mean, all the W League games are live on ABC or SBS. So there is their marketing there. It's just that
they don't do enough of it.
it's not really around that much.
Like you wouldn't even be able to tell who plays for the teams, like not like you would for AFLW.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
I think it also comes down to the A-League is relatively like in its infancy itself, so FFA has to worry about, I guess, trying to establish the A-League because there's always talks of it's not European football, it's not this, it's not that. So whereas the AFL is the peak body for Australian rules in the world, like they never have to market themselves realistically. And people would still turn up to every game.
Exactly,
They could just sit around twiddling their thumbs, which arguably they do sometimes. But whereas the FFA has its own problems with A-League in terms of marketing, pushing it, etc.
Yeah, and speaking of that marketing, actually the Derby attendance was only 35,000, which was only 10,000 higher than the women's match the night before, and that's the lowest attendance at Etihad for a derby since City became Hearts. So this game's, I wouldn't say stagnating a little bit, but there's definitely some questions that need to be answered, and that's probably why the women's football hasn't quite taken off as much.
But that grand final will be held in Perth, so it'll be interesting to see if Perth can win. I think probably their first title.
First title,
and whether City can go back to back.
Yeah, no one's ever done that before in the W League.
So that'll be interesting.
They've had a couple of double champions, but never a back to back.
Yeah.
Perth were really impressive as well in their semi-final, beat Sydney 5-1. Canberra United, City got over Canberra United in extra time. And, we'll go to a song now, won't we?
Yeah, we're going to crack into a song now. This is TK Miser with Carry On, and you're listening to Sports Desk on SYN 90.7 FM.
This is the Sports Desk on 90.7 FM, and that was TK Miser with the Carry On featuring Killer Mike from Run the Jewels. Great song. And now for our last segment of the day, it's gone so quickly. Very
flown by.
sad.
Time flies when you're having fun.
I know, right?
Faster than Bolt in the athletics at the moment.
Well, the All-Stars. I wish we could talk about that because that's been really interesting seeing that happen, but bring that into the show another time. But for the moment, this week, there's been 2 clubs who have announced their captains in the AFL.
And Benno is very happy here as an Essendon supporter. Dyson Heppel. The blonde bombshell is now skipper of the Essendon Football Club.
I could not be happier. I think this honestly marks a new chapter.
Here we go. That's what the Essendon Football Club has been trying to sell as well.
No, I just feel like Heppel was the obvious choice, and there's been probably for 18 months now, will Watson be captain? I think
It's good to get it over with,
Yeah, I think it's good. It was obvious choice. Watson's still in the leadership group, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with all the choices. We've got a solid leadership group. Merritt being groomed as the next captain, which, why wouldn't you?
He's a superstar.
He is going to be a superstar. Him and Heppel, watch out. But yeah.
Just relax, Ben. Relax. Keep it in your pants. And Jaron Geary.
Interesting.
Jaron Geary.
Wow.
Wow.
Lucky this is a radio show.
Jaron Geary has been announced skipper of the Saints, which is he's a bit of a Nick Maxwell sort of captain, but I think it's great. I mean,
it's a great choice.
He's pumped up heaps internally, and it's
a good leader,
Yeah, absolutely, and the perfect person to take over from Nick Rewald, who's 35.
Oh, he's still going.
And he plays everywhere on the field.
Keeping on, isn't he?
The only AFL game I went to last year was the Pride match, and I was just like, wait, why is Nick Riewoldt in the back? Wait,
Why is he
why
on the
is
wing?
he playing
Why
in the
is he-
forward? Yeah, why is he on the wing? What's he doing? And then our mum was like, he just goes everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was
Goes
like,
everywhere.
oh, okay. And then now I find he's 35, and I'm like,
Yeah.
whew, what a guy. But yeah, and also Carlton had a shake up to their leadership team.
Yeah.
Mark
Dennis
Murphy
Arm-
remaining the captain,
Yeah.
but Dennis Armfield getting
How about it? He's a
noted.
culty figure, isn't
Oh,
he?
he's an absolute cult
that
figure.
mustache, the goatee, that wispy little,
Oh,
little
little beard.
underbeard.
Is it
I
really a
wouldn't call it a
beard?
beard. Yeah, I'll be.
It's
His
not
whiskers.
great, is it?
Oh, I think it's good. It's good though. I mean, he does get a little bit maligned, I reckon, but he's a good player, and it's obviously well respected in the club.
Yeah.
Why not?
He's a massive, great figure in the club. Like, he's been doing an assistant coaching role with the girls as well, which he does just in his spare time. Like, he's not getting paid extra for it or anything. So he really, really loves the Carlton Football Club,
Yeah.
it seems. So it seems really nice that he's been put in the leadership group.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And moving to cricket, Chris Lynn has been excluded from the T20 squad due to neck injury, and in comes Ben Dunk. We were talking him up
Oh,
last
finally.
week.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
makes sense,
Yeah.
honestly.
He's going to play as a batsman. He's going to open the batting and go bang. Or maybe not open the batting, but
Who
he's
will
back.
open the batting, do you reckon? Finch and who?
Finch and... I
They
couldn't
might
tell
just
ya.
put Finch and Payne.
Yeah,
Payne,
maybe
yeah, that'd be
actually.
good.
Yeah,
call. I would say that's a very
think
solid
Payne
call.
was opening in the
The
Big Bash.
Big
Yeah,
Bash,
for
yeah.
Hobart.
Did
well,
Finch and
yeah.
Payne.
And in other cricket news, Nick Maddinson, who had a pretty failed Test career,
Average of about 2 or 3. I think that's
6.5.
similar to my cricket.
The best
results.
22 I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's taken a sabbatical from the sport. He's
Interesting one there.
I'm not sure if he was going to get. I'm not sure if he was in Test selection contention, but he's not going to be
Probably
now.
not. Yeah.
Definitely not now, and he's also not playing any Shield cricket or anything like that.
And Shane Watson has said that Mitch Marsh is he's one good innings away, aren't we all, from from a recall to the Test side? And Steve Waugh, this actually confused me on Cricket Australia. So I said Waugh says Sean Marsh should open the batting, and I thought, oh, okay, Mark Waugh, okay, yeah, so he's going to
Fair
open the
enough.
batting, but it turned out it was Steve Waugh.
Steve Waugh, yeah.
How about that?
Do
Cheeky headlines.
Do any
there.
of us want either Marsh in the?
No.
I sort of
No.
want
No.
Sean Marsh, just in the subcontinent. He did score a nice 140 in Sri Lanka. I think he is okay at maybe a 5 or a 6. I wouldn't have him.
I wouldn't have
opening.
him opening the.
You got to
batting.
have Renshaw opening, surely.
I think next week we'll go more in depth
Yeah.
with
Oh,
that. though.
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely.
We'll
But
really.
yeah, there was a bit of Southern Stars news as well with Lauren Cheadle, the young 18-year-old, out after a shoulder injury at training the other week. Replacing her will be Sarah Ali, who is 32, so it's been a late call-up for her to the Australian national women's team. But she was the leading wicket taker in the WBBL. So good addition for the Southern Stars in the T20 series coming up against New Zealand. But that is all we have time for today on the Sports Desk. But we will be back on Monday at 9 a.m. on 90.7 FM. And you can also catch the shows on Facebook. And don't forget to listen to the new Decision Desk podcast that me and Ben, not Ben
Not
here,
me. Yeah.
another
Better
Ben,
Ben.
are putting
Oh,
together every...
harsh.
Oh, damn.
Jeez, you just settle
blow.
down.
Oh.
A podcast that me and Ben Pascuzzi, I believe his last name is, are putting together every
Yeah, another name drop.
fortnight. So listen in for that. All of this can be found on our Facebook. Just search the Sports Desk in Facebook, or go facebook.com/sportsdesksin, or facebook.com/sin sports
Sports
desk.
Desk.
We didn't sort this out.
Sorry, next week we'll definitely have the address for you.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for listening in, and we will see you on Monday at 9 a.m.
Stay tuned for Schools on Air.
Exactly. This is Sin 90.7 FM.